Welcome to episode 9 of the MJ Sports Podcast. My name is Mark and I'm joined by Jonas, and this is your week of sports in review.
Sports. Woo! And we are back once again to deliver the goodness, the sweet, sweet juice into your ears, the sweet sports juice. And man, what a week it was! What a week it was! I'm excited because we have a lot of stuff to get to today.
That we
Lots
do.
and lots and stuff.
That we do. Well, let's go ahead and just get right into it. Start off with some NFL headlines, if that's all right with you.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, we'll start off with the first game that happened this last week. My Green Bay Packers. People were talking about it being a little bit of a revenge game against the 49ers. I wouldn't really say that's a fair assessment considering San Francisco is missing half their team. But it was still a good win. The Packers absolutely destroyed the 49ers pretty much in every part of the ball game. I don't know if you had any thoughts in particular on that game.
I'm just really glad that I drafted Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams in one of my fantasy leagues, because that has literally been carrying me to wins so far. But yeah, I mean, you're probably getting ready to say this, but yeah, is Devontae Adams the best receiver in the league, Mark?
So, here's the deal. I think Devontae Adams doesn't have the name recognition as some of the other wide receivers because this conversation, it comes up. And, Devontae Adams is usually in like a top 10 conversation for sure. And, you might even see him in a lot of top fives, but you don't hear him a whole lot around that number one. Personally, I think I don't know if you can definitively declare a number one wide receiver just because part of it depends on the quarterback who's throwing them the ball, obviously. You could have a phenomenal wide receiver, but if you've got Nick Foles throwing them the football, they're not going to look that good.
Whoa, whoa! We don't need to take it that far, Mark.
So, I think that, and just like Devontae said, I think that case can certainly be made. So, I'm not going to go out there and make a definitive statement, but
I don't know. For about 3 years ago, I would say you could definitively say Antonio Brown before he became a mental head case was the best receiver in the league there. Just based off watching his cuts, his separation, and even his stats. And I know he was kind of a stat patter, but I mean, Devontae Adams seems like he's a stat patter, but I just think he's always like so open all the time. It's just ridiculous. I saw this one, the highlight of Julio Jones' touchdown this week was like shown everywhere, where he like made an inside cut and then turned towards the pylon and was wide open, and I was like, there's like a guy like Devontae Adams seems to do that on almost like every route, but yeah, like you said, the name recognition for some reason, I don't really know like where the disconnect is. I don't know, maybe if it's just because it's Green Bay and Green Bay is always good and who cares about you guys anymore. But yeah, I don't know what the disconnect is between like the ESPN networks with some of these players and just not wanting to give them like any airtime. But
yeah, I think the thing with Devontae is he does everything good and he does a lot of things great. He's arguably one of the best, if not the best, route runners in the league. That's why he's open all the time. You see teams all the time, double teaming him, and he still finds a way to get wide open. He's just a phenomenal route runner. And when you've got a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, who, is comfortable throwing the ball, seconds before the wide receiver even makes his cut, knowing that his wide receiver's exactly where he's going to be. I mean, it's such a lethal combination. And the thing is, Adams, he's not the fastest guy out there, but he's still got good speed. He's got great size for a wide receiver, so he goes up and gets the ball. I mean, that first touchdown against the 49ers, you know, it was a little debatable, talking about if he got his elbow in there. I mean, personally, I thought it was a touchdown, but
Okay, yeah, I thought doesn't your hand count as like a foot
I
or
don't,
not?
I don't believe it does.
That to me, that's a rule that should be changed. Like, why is your why is the hand not like a body part that can be counted towards as like one foot?
Yeah, I mean, it was a heck of a catch regardless. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's that whole. I think it just has to be based with what's considered like to be a down, like considered like a down um, body part. Like a knee. Um, and a hand's not considered like if you touch the ground with your hand when you're being tackled, you're not considered down. I think that's probably some of the reasoning behind it, but I mean, he makes those catches all the time, so. Um, but
Yeah, I mean, the I would say I would say for sure he's top three. I mean, and obviously you have Michael Thomas and DeAndre Hopkins. I would think the number one receiver, quote unquote, would be one of those three guys currently, but it's all pretty close
yeah,
there. So
no, I mean, you could make an argument for any one of those guys, and a lot of people are going to throw Julio in that conversation too. I mean, I'd probably prioritize those three over Julio at this point, but
yeah,
I mean, they're all phenomenal wide receivers, so.
well, can I just say I think we've had somebody listening to this podcast, specifically Josh Allen, because he just decided to look great again for no reason whatsoever besides maybe the Seattle pass defense is one of the I think I saw it was like one of the worst pass defenses in like last 20 years or something. So maybe that'll do the trick for you, but I mean, what did you think of that game?
Um, well, Pete Carroll came out and said he didn't have any spot in his head to even comprehend that loss. I mean, that right there, that should pretty much tell you. I mean, they got out coached, they got outplayed. I did hear a couple people mention that it seemed like Wilson was pressing a little bit, and granted, he kind of has to. I mean, after they acquired Jamal Adams, that the idea behind that trade was that would help their defense out, take some of that pressure off the offense. That has not been the case, and Seattle's had the same problem they've had over the last 2 years. They can't keep any running backs healthy. I mean,
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it literally doesn't even matter who it is either. Like,
yeah, I mean, what are the odds of them like consistently having these running back issues? Like, at this point, if this keeps happening, you got to wonder, is it something with like the training staff or what? Because it
yeah.
is ridiculous to see like their top three running backs all missing this amount of time.
Well, and you would think there'd be some other guys that could be good enough just to fill in here and there, which I know that's like what Dallas guy or whatever. I forget what his first name is, but I mean he's looked pretty decent. But but yeah, I just like I said, I think Jamal Adams is almost one of those things where you have a really good player, an above average player on just an absolutely atrocious team, and so it kind of like amplifies, like his skill set and how good he looks. And then once he gets traded, for like a massive deal and actually shows up to the other team, it's like, well, he's above average, but he's not quite the superstar that, Seattle has previously had on their defense. I don't know what. I remember saying that probably like week 2 or 3 that Jamal Adams not quite as good as what people think. I don't know what your take on that would be.
No, I think you brought up a great point there with, you take a really good player from a bad team. I mean, granted, he's going to look like a superstar on a bad team because no one else on that team is doing anything on defense. I mean, the Jets' defense has not been competitive for years. So I agree. I mean, some of it seems. I mean, some of it you got to think has to be some of the coaching too. I've heard a lot of calls for their defensive coordinator to be fired. Granted, I don't know a ton about Seattle's coaching staff aside from Pete Carroll, but I mean, you would think. I mean, the defense should not be this bad, at least in my opinion. But
Do they have the same defensive coordinator from the 2 years they went to the Super Bowl? Do you know, or is it somebody?
I really don't know.
I would think you'd have to for them to go from obviously they had great players back then, but I would think for them to just straight up go from first to dead last by in what like 6 years. I would think that would have to be a different coach, especially from last year. Even I mean, even last year they were at least somewhat decent. So yeah, I it is. The Bills are 7-2, but once again, just coming out of this game, the talk is about not even them really. It's about just the other team. So I don't know. I really do hope the Bills can actually achieve something this year, like maybe a playoff win. But man, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know. I still don't know what to think of the Bills. I think they're bad. Well, I think they're an okay 7-2 team.
Yeah, I actually just looked it up, and their defensive coordinator's been with them for 11 years. So.
Oh well, what happened? So is it the coaching then, or is it just the players?
Well,
Because I mean,
I think it can still be the coaching, because
well, right.
it doesn't mean he's a bad coach, and it's definitely not all on him, because the talent they have now is not the Legion of Boom. I mean, I heard some people. I think I heard Colin Cowherd or someone mention after they got Jamal Adams that this was going to be close to the Legion of Boom. Don't quote me on that. It might have been someone else, but it was
It's
some.
okay. It's probably Colin.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't think I'm like Jamal Adams is a good player, but I'm like, I don't think he makes them anywhere close to the Legion of Boom again. And granted, at that time, I never would have saw their defense being this bad. I would think more of like a middle of the road, type of defense. But I mean. So I think it's probably a little bit of a mix of the two. I mean, obviously the fans' first impulse is always to fire the coach or the coordinator, which isn't always the right answer. So.
Yeah. Well, that's enough about Seattle's bad defense. So I guess just to pile on the pain train right now, you can just, the Cowboys, we almost had it. We almost had that dollar on the fishing pole, but we couldn't quite pull it off. I mean, this is pretty much what we've been doing the past 2 years is losing one possession games. Now, granted, the line was the Steelers were a plus 14. So for us to even be within 5 points is pretty miraculous to me, and at least we looked competent. The defense is doing something finally. I don't know why it took Andy Dalton getting his head demolished for our defense to actually do something. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. During the game, at least this year, it's nice to see the team performing somewhat well, but it's also like, that was 3 hours. I can never get back again. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just it's painful all around.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely you know, you guys played a good game. I mean, for not having Dak, I mean, I don't think anyone expected this game to be remotely close. I certainly didn't. And the fact that I was thinking you guys might be able to pull it out there for the longest time. Um, I mean, I think part of it was Pittsburgh probably came in a little bit overconfident.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they always play. They seem to play down to their competition, which doesn't necessarily bode well for a deep playoff run. But
Yeah, you're right there, and Big Ben did get hurt. I saw that they said he has two knee injuries on both knees that he's dealing with now, which is the last thing they need, and an already pretty immobile quarterback having injuries
well,
to both his knees.
I think they ruled him out for this week.
Did they really?
I think I saw that. Let me double check that if you want to keep filling.
Yeah, I didn't think I saw that, but I mean, if they did, it's good old Mason Rudolph time. It doesn't look like a call's been made based off of what I'm seeing.
Okay, well. Oh, it's not his knees, Mark. He got placed on the list. So
Gosh, that was disgusting.
I'm sorry. That might have been a little bit too loud. I'm sorry about that if you're listening out there, but you'll get over it,
Yeah.
I'm sure. So okay, yeah, he's gonna have to. So Vance McDonald tested positive, and then
Okay.
Roethlisberger was around him, and it looks like he's gonna have to test negative for like 4 or 5 days in a row.
Gotcha.
So it looks like he could be cleared to play Friday if he continues to test negative.
Okay. Well, he probably would have had most of the week off anyways, to for his knee's sake. But
I mean, they're playing the Bengals, so I feel like he shouldn't need too much of like a
you know,
you
you
know
know,
warm up.
you never know though. I mean, they came in overconfident against you guys, and you know, the Bengals did surprise last week. So
I mean, I guess that's true. So you never know. I guess this year.
I mean, I don't think you're remembering how bad Mason Rudolph was at points last year.
That's fair, but still, I mean, it is the Bengals' defense. Like, it's not like their defense got much better. It's mostly the Bengals' offense,
Right.
which might pressure the Steelers. It might have kind of like I don't know, a rolling effect. But
I mean, I'm still picking the Steelers either way, but
oh yeah, me too. But
but yeah, I mean, good game by the Cowboys for what they were dealing with, but at this point, it's just better for Dallas to keep on losing.
I agree.
But moving on. So the Atlanta Falcons, ever since they have fired Dan Quinn, seem to have found a little bit of success hidden here. Do you think there's a possibility with the extra playoff team that they're able to sneak into the playoffs?
So this is probably a team that should keep losing, but instead always like to start off like 2-7, 3-6, and then just end up going 7-9, and not making the playoffs. And I don't see them making it in the NFC this year. I mean, it looks like the Rams and the Cardinals are going to make it, and the Buccaneers, or right now it looks like the Buccaneers will be a wild card team. So,
Well, and you've also got the Vikings, who have seemed to have put together
well,
enough of a team to be able to win some games too.
I mean, and technically, if you want to get a little bit risque, you got the Bears. But, I mean, do you think the Falcons have a better chance of making it than the Bears, even though they're like 2 games behind them?
No, I don't. I think, honestly, I think they're probably better suited in the playoffs than the Bears, just because the Bears can't put up any points. Um, but I feel like that 2-win advantage, the Bears' hot start gave them a lot of advantages that they probably didn't deserve to have. Um, so all they have to do is pull out a couple more ugly victories to give themselves a good shot.
I'd say the only way the Falcons might sneak in is if I know that the NFL is talking about a 16 team playoff for if games got canceled or just something whack wacky happened. But yeah, I don't see them. To me, they seem like they're going to go like 7-9 again. But,
Yeah,
but yeah,
nope, I agree. Well, that's enough of the Falcons.
yes.
There was another blowout this last week, and I don't think anyone really saw it coming. All the picks I saw before the game had the Buccaneers winning, but man, the Saints rolled into town, and Jameis got to eat a W, and
Yeah, we both picked. Why did we pick the Buc? Why did we pick the Buccaneers for?
I, I think it's just we talked so much earlier in the season about the decline of Drew Brees. Um, yeah, I mean, part of it for me was probably still rubbing off from the Packers beat the Saints earlier in the year, and Tampa Bay steamrolled the Packers. So part of that was probably some of just my personal experience with Tampa Bay and the Saints, but um, I mean, even if I would have picked the Saints, I wouldn't have expected them because it was 35-3, right?
Yeah, 38-3.
Yeah, I mean that's insane.
Well, to me, it almost looks more like the Buccaneers don't match up very well against the Saints. Not necessarily that the Buccaneers all of a sudden are like, oh, because everyone like way overreacted, like, oh, they're terrible again. It's like,
Absolutely.
well, they beat the Packers by a lot. They beat the Raiders by a lot. Like, obviously, they kind of struggled against the Giants a little bit, but everyone kind of has those struggle games where they are able to pull it out, but it's more of a match. I don't know. It seems more of a matchup issue. I feel like if these teams played again in the playoffs, the Saints would probably win again, just based off of. I mean, they've absolutely destroyed Tom Brady. So
Right. No, I agree. I mean, I think it was more of. I mean, I agree. I don't think they match up. I mean, I think Tampa Bay just again got out coached and outplayed. I mean, it was already going to be tough for them to come, to win that game. But when you don't come in completely on point, uh, it just made for what we ended up getting. So I agree. A lot of overreactions to it. Um, I think this is more of a kind of like a little fluke game. Tampa Bay's still a good team, but people just want to hate on Brady. So with this loss, everybody's like, "Oh, Buccaneers are trash." So
yeah, what did you think of Ole Antonio Brown?
I mean, what were his numbers?
I don't think he had like 4 catches for like 30 or 40 yards, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what I expected. I mean, I wasn't really thinking Antonio Brown was going to come in and put up a 150-yard game with 2 touchdowns or anything like that in his first game back. I mean, I know Tom Brady has played with him before, briefly, granted. Um, but this is a new team. Offense looks different, so plus a lot more people catching balls, a lot more targets in Tampa Bay than there were in New England when Brady was there. So
Well, the sad thing is that they have Evans, Godwin, and now Antonio Brown. But so far through this season, I think about 50, it might have been like 49% to be exact, but um, of Tom Brady's targets has gone to either running backs or tight ends. So
Yeah.
not like he's not even throwing the ball to his three, stud receiver. Well, I guess two for the most part of this year, stud receivers. And even then, it seemed like a lot of his targets were going to Scotty Miller. So, and granted, Chris Godwin has been injured, and clearly so far it's looked like Mike Evans has been the favorite receiver target. Um, but I don't know. I don't know if Antonio Brown's going to do much for him unless they were just expecting Chris Godwin just to continue to get, you know, injured.
Yeah, I mean, Brady's just been throwing to Gronk again recently, so I mean, you had him as a target as well, and like you said, I mean, he's so used to throwing or running to running backs and tight ends anyways, because that's all he had in New England. Um, but yeah, I mean, it gives him plenty of wide receiver depth. I mean, theoretically, he should have at least one or two open options with all the talent, but
I would think.
it's just a matter of him finding who's open and also obviously having the time to be able to get it to him.
Right. Well, who would have thought the Monday night game between the Jets and the Patriots would be much more exciting than that game?
You know, it was an exciting game. It still wasn't one that was fun to watch. It's two awful teams.
Is uh, This is like a battle of good players from like 2012, 2013. Dude, I can, I'm sorry for people that like Cam Newton out there, but it just looks like he's having a stroke every time he throws the football, man. I cannot get over his throwing motion. It looks so bad.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was going to be the beginning of the Joe Flacco comeback train. I mean, I was thinking maybe they get a win here and they just win out the rest of their schedule, make it to the playoffs. But
Here's the thing. Joe Flacco always plays extremely well against the Patriots. I feel like Joe Flacco could resurrect his career if he could just play the Patriots every week. Because I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if he has a winning record against them or not, but in every single one of those games that he's played, it's always been close, at least. So, I don't know why. Honestly, how is Joe Flacco even playing in the league? That's what I want to know. Like, I mean, I know it's the Jets, but it still is like, wow, Joe Flacco's still in the league. That's impressive.
yeah, I mean it. At least it was close. I mean, it wasn't. It wasn't exactly the talent we wanted to see it highlighted, but um, you know, fortunately for the Jets, they lost, and I say fortunately because they're still holding out hope that Trevor Lawrence decides not to return to Clemson. I'm sure. So this definitely keeps them in the ballpark for that number one pick. Well, actually keeps them firmly in the driver's seat.
I mean, the Giants got their second win. Jacksonville's got only one, and they probably will play each other, or have they already played each other?
I don't think they've played each other, but Jacksonville's already got their quarterback of the future,
Oh,
and it's not Gardner Minshew.
what was that guy's name? It's like
Uh,
Lucian or Luton or something.
Luton, I don't remember his first name. Played a pretty good game though. I mean, he
He
threw
did.
he threw like a 70-yard pass to Chark to start off the game. So
Well, granted, that was like a 10-yard pass, and then Shark ran 60 yards, but we'll give it to
no,
him.
it was a 70-yard pass. It was in the air for 70 yards.
He just chucked it from the one end zone to the other.
Yeah. But I mean,
Let's.
this is kind of what the Jaguars seem to be good at, finding a sixth-round quarterback who fills in for an underperforming or injured quarterback and becomes the starter, and then he gets replaced by the same chain of command that he got his job from in the first place. So,
Man, the Jaguars don't play. Oh, I forget that the Jets actually were 7-9 last year, so they weren't last in their division. So they actually don't play the Jets.
that would be, man, get a week 17 with them having tied records, having to play
They
each
should
other.
flex that.
Well, and then they end up both just trying so hard to lose, they end up tying 0-0.
No, they have a field goal battle where they just have the two worst kickers in the league.
Trying to kick 67-yard field goals.
Oh yes, man, Matt Rule for the Panthers. He gets bold. At least he inspires his players to try to win the games.
Okay, honestly, I liked that decision. I think teams should try that more often if you've got a kicker.
It had the distance.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a better chance, in my opinion, of kicking a 67-yard field goal than getting a Hail Mary.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
I mean,
I didn't mind the decision.
I mean, granted, if I have Cody Parkey as a kicker, I'm probably not doing it, but
Well, right. I mean, he's got to be able to kick it
Yeah.
that far.
yeah, I mean, but if you've got a kicker who can hit from 50 plus at a pretty good rate, I'm trying it.
I mean, the Colts tried it with Pat McAfee, and he's not even like a kicker.
Yeah.
They tried that was like a 64, 65, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, most kickers can get that distance. It's just a matter of can you actually get it between the posts. I mean, but
Right. I mean, that's just one thing. It's like whenever you try to swing out of your shoes, whenever you're playing golf or something, and you just slice it. That's pretty much exactly what it looked like. Is they just tried to kick it as hard as possible, and he just ended up slicing it right.
well, and I'm sure kickers try these types of kicks all the time in practice, but
Well, I'd hope so. I mean, they're
Yeah.
not doing anything else.
but once you actually have people rushing in trying to block it, it's a whole nother story. So,
Right, right.
but
Well, you mentioned franchise quarterbacks there, and so I don't know. It kind of made me think of what's your thoughts on potential rookie of the year picks? I would say right now there's maybe I don't know. I can think of maybe 5 or 6 guys that you could put into the conversation, but obviously I would think Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert are leading it right now. I don't know if you want me to mention the other guys I was thinking of or not, but
well, might as well. I mean, I agree with you. I think it's between Herbert and Burrow, but who else?
I
are you
think
thinking?
I think if we obviously I think if Tua goes like 9-0 or something crazy, he might steal it. But right now I don't think he's played enough. But if we shift away from the quarterback a little bit, I think you have there's Chase Claypool for the Steelers has been quite nice. I think CD Lamb probably yeah, he might have been able to sneak it out if Dak would still be healthy because he was putting up some pretty absurd numbers those first 5 games. I think T. Higgins has played really well, but obviously with Burrow throwing in the ball, it's like you're going to give it to Burrow instead of the receiver. And I think I don't know. I think Jonathan Taylor through the first few weeks had a shot, but I don't know. The Colts seem to not be trusting him with his fumbling issues. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you can think of anyone. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire kind of
Yeah.
just.
I mean, his roles. He had a better shot before they brought in Le'Veon Bell. Just
Well,
'cause-
even since Bell's been on the team, like even the couple weeks before Bell got there, he was still kind of like, not really like super exciting. But
yeah. So if you had to pick between Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, who are you picking?
personally, I think I would choose Joe Burrow, um, because I do think, as far as I know Herbert's been putting up a little bit better stats, but you got to think. I mean, he has Keenan Allen to throw to, a top 10 receiver probably. Um, he's got Mike Williams, who is a constant deep threat for them. Hunter Henry, and then you just look at what Joe Burrow has to deal with as far as offensive line issues. I mean, literally from last year to this year, his pictures, like he looks like he's like a drug addict now, and maybe he is after after all the sacks he's gone through. But I don't know. I would pick Joe Burrow just on a talent level and based on what he has around him. What he's doing with the pieces around him. But
Well,
who would you choose?
I mean, I totally get what you're saying, and I agree. But I think it gives Herbert the opportunity to put up a better stat line, and so I'm kind of gonna, and it gives him more of an opportunity, I think. I mean, granted, I don't think the Chargers are really going to do anything this season. But like if we look at the stats, I just pulled those up. So Justin Herbert has 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He's got 104.7 QBR. You've got Joe Burrow, who's got 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 91.4 QBR. So I mean, both are playing well as rookies. I mean, there's no doubt there. That's why they're in the rookie of the year conversation. I just think that Herbert has such an advantage to put up much better stats than Burrow. And granted, Burrow's expected to. I mean, we've already seen the Bengals are, making him go out there and throw 45 passes a game. I mean, he threw like, what was it, 60 something, at the beginning of the season. So, I mean, he's kind of being put into some situations where teams know they're passing, and Herbert doesn't have nearly as much of that. So I'm going to lean with Herbert wins it, but there's definitely an argument to be made for both.
Yeah, and I get, like, looking at the stats, it would support Herbert right now, but I don't know. I guess just based on the old school eye test metric, I would lean, if I was choosing, I would say Joe Burrow. I think you are correct right now. I think right now it probably does, as far as who the NFL will give it to and the voters will give it to, they'll probably give it to Herbert right now. I'd say if you're a betting person, it'd probably be good to put something on Tua. Yeah, I don't know what the odds are at this point. He probably shot way up after this past week, but I don't know. I mean, he's 2-0, and that's already like half the total wins that the Chargers and the Bengals have gotten.
The only thing you have to remember with Tua, and that Tua's got to his disadvantage, is he's not going to end up playing as many games as Burrow and Herbert because they started the season with Fitzpatrick, and that is something that's usually considered. So that's just another thing to keep in mind there.
It might be the Zion effect.
I mean, like you said, if Tua goes up and wins like 9 games or something like that, and puts up phenomenal numbers, I mean, obviously he's going to be in that conversation a lot more often. But he's at a little bit of a disadvantage because he started a little later.
Yeah. Well, then I guess what would you say your mid-season MVP candidates are, and pick?
Boy, this is tough. I mean, a lot of people had Russell Wilson in that conversation. I still think Russell Wilson's definitely there. Kyler Murray is another guy to consider. For sure, he's putting up a phenomenal season. you can't forget about my man Aaron Rodgers, playing out of his mind this year, putting up one of his best seasons at the age of 36 or 37. I mean, Patty Mahomes is. I mean, no one. You can't forget about him. I mean, the thing with Mahomes is Mahomes throws a pass, like a sidearm pass, and, the NFL will freak out about it. And, you'll see that with Rodgers, too, a lot of the time. But, someone like Kyler Murray does it. Not even, like, a mention. I get it. Like, Mahomes can throw a lot of balls. He's a good quarterback. He should be able to throw it sidearmed. He should be able to flick it out. He should have that presence to be able to get rid of the ball. But, he gets a little overblown coverage on some of it, I think, just because of his performance over the last 2 years. So, I mean, as long as he keeps playing the way he does, I mean, he's got 25 touchdowns and 1 interception right now. I mean,
I feel like Mahomes might become like LeBron, somebody that probably should win it every year, but they're like, we're tired of giving it to this guy.
yeah,
Let's give it to someone else.
yeah, that's definitely true.
Who's your pick? I know you want to give it to Rodgers, Mark.
The thing is, I mean,
look, I'm not going to argue.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I am going to give it to Rodgers, not just, part of it's because I'm a Packers fan, but because he is putting up MVP-type numbers. So.
Okay, hear me out here. The MVP should be Kyler Murray. And I don't say that. I know they're 5-3, but that's pretty good. Nobody thought the Cardinals were going to be 5-3 at this point. He, right now, is outpacing what Lamar Jackson did last year. But since Lamar actually, already has done that, nobody cares. Like, nobody cares that Kyler Murray is just running all over the place, running for, 100 yards almost every game, and a rushing touchdown almost every game. And I know, like, he's thrown more interceptions than Mahomes and Rodgers, but I don't know. I do not understand why everyone was so hype on Lamar Jackson last year. And Lamar Jackson can barely throw a football. And Kyler Murray's throwing like 300 yards a game, 2 or 3 touchdowns a game, and running at the same pace. And, like, nobody even cares. That's what is driving me crazy. But I don't know. I think at this point, my order at this point, if I was choosing, I would say Kyler Murray, Mahomes, Rodgers, and then Wilson. But I don't know. Rodgers obviously has been playing fantastic. And I don't know. I guess I wouldn't pick Murray had Lamar Jackson not done what he did last year. I would probably say Mahomes and then Rodgers, but it's just like wild. I don't know. That just it is wild to me what like the sports media can act like what is good and what is like we don't care about. It's just wild to me.
Kyler Murray should have just stuck with baseball.
But. Oh man, he'd never be an MVP in baseball. Nobody cares about Oakland, Mark.
That's true. I mean, granted, we probably wouldn't have seen him for a couple of years anyways, so I think it's fair to say that he probably made the right decision.
Well, and whenever he was making that decision, was anyone thinking he was going to be like this good? Like, to be honest, like 2 years ago, I was like, right now, while he was at Oklahoma, I was like, Mayfield still kind of looks better than Kyler Murray as far as playing college. And then kind of as like the season progressed and as like last year progressed, it was like Kyler Murray is like light years ahead of Baker Mayfield and especially Jalen Hurts from, this past year. But yeah, it's just disappointing not to even hear his name in any of these conversations, I feel like.
Nope, I agree with you. I mentioned him too. I don't think he has that advantage over Rogers and Mahomes when for the pure passing numbers. Granted, neither one of them's going to put up the rushing stats he puts up, but
Yeah, and you know, I'd be more willing to choose Rodgers if I just didn't have a personal bias against him. But
hey, you're warming up to him a little bit. I'm sure.
yeah, thanks to Pat McAfee, that's the only reason.
Yeah, love my Aaron Rodgers Tuesdays, but well, I think that covers all the storylines. I don't have anything else if you don't.
Nah, I don't really have too much more.
Oh, let's get on with our picks. Um, and I will just say before we get started with this, I think could be an interesting week for me to make up a lot of ground because we've got a lot of matchups that could go either way, in my opinion.
Yes, you made up one this past week on the Colts and the Ravens, and it looked like the Colts were gonna maybe swing something there in the first half. But as soon as Jonathan Taylor fumbled and Philip Rivers just fell on his butt, it was like, well, that there goes that. But
Yep.
so
Well,
I think you're 5 or 6 behind me. So you're not really that far behind.
this is the perfect week for me to make it up. I'm gonna let you pick first every time. Um, starting off, Jonas, who are you picking? The Colts at the Titans.
Look, I'm back on the Titans train, 15-1 Titans. And Philip Rivers' ability to just turn the ball over like 10 times in a game, I just turns me off of the Colts.
Look, the Colts defense is about to hold Derrick Henry under 75 rushing yards and Ryan Tannehill under 173 passing yards. So I'm picking the Colts.
Yeah, I know I just talked a bunch of hype about the Colts last week as well, but I think the Titans will win this. They're at home too, so. Mark, I'll pick the Eagles. If you want to pick the Giants, be my guest.
I feel like it'd be stupid to pick the Giants, although granted, anything can happen in this division.
Look, I'll tell you right now, the Giants are going to get out to about a 10-point lead, and in the last 6 minutes of the game, they're going to blow it.
Look, this is a game that I'm going to agree with you on, okay?
I think the next game is as well.
I think this next one should be our big brain pick of the week.
I agree. Let's go with Jacksonville.
Yeah. Packers at Jacksonville. Boy, if the Packers blew out, the injured 49ers, I feel like the Jaguars are going to suffer a similar fate.
I hope so, just for fantasy purposes.
Yeah, Devontae Adams is about to have a 250 receiving yard day. Next, we've got the Washington football team at the Lions. You know what? I'll go first on this one. I'm picking the Lions because Matthew Stafford mainly, and I think the Lions have the edge in this matchup.
Is Matthew Stafford back, I guess? Is his back back?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything that he's going to be out. I'm picking them regardless, so.
I don't know. I just can't pick Washington. They're just so bad.
But maybe, yeah, poor Washington. Although I think Alex Smith's going to be starting, so.
I know, that's the only thing that could save them, but even this past week, he just looks like he hasn't played in so long that it might take him a couple.
To be fair, he hasn't played in a while.
Well, I know. Well, that's why I say that, but.
So next up, we've got the Texans at the Browns.
You got me to choose this one first?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Texans. I think Deshaun Watson can just single-handedly carry them against the Browns.
Well, I'm not going to say that I disagree with you, but I'm picking the Browns for my own sake because I think this one's kind of a toss-up.
It is. It is somewhat.
Next, we've got the Buccaneers at the Panthers.
The Buccaneers. Even if the Buccaneers played absolutely horrible last week, I'm still picking the Buccaneers.
Yeah, nope, same here. Last week was a fluke, in my opinion. So, and the Panthers aren't the Saints.
Right.
Next, we've got Justin Herbert versus Tua.
Well, I've been on the Dolphins train all season, so no point in picking against them now.
And I've been a Justin Herbert fan since day one, so...
And that has not turned out well for you.
Not for wins, but...
Mark, this is the third time that you've picked against the Dolphins.
Well, look, I'm picking based off of Justin Herbert's performance alone. It's not his fault that his wide receiver doesn't catch the ball there at the end of the game.
That is fair, but it's also the Dolphins' defense has quietly gone under the radar this season. Maybe that Byron Jones signing is actually being somewhat, useful.
Well, you guys could certainly use him, but...
No, we're tanking.
All right, I think we're probably going to agree on this one, but the Broncos at the Raiders. I'm picking the Raiders.
Yeah.
We've got the Bills at the Cardinals, which could be an interesting matchup.
This one is so hard.
I'm going to guess you're going to lean towards the Cardinals because of Kyler.
I'm going to pick the Cardinals and just assume that the Bills are actually going to win just because they want to prove me wrong. It's just like a personal vendetta they have against me for some reason.
Well, I am picking the Bills because the Bills came out, they stomped Seattle. They're going to stomp the Cardinals.
I really hope the Bills lose so I can just dish on them next week.
Josh Allen is the MVP. No question in my mind.
Yeah, I hope so.
We'll probably agree on this one, too. We've got the beat-up 49ers at the Saints.
Yeah, just unfortunate. And I would actually rather the 49ers win this game just because I just hate the Saints. But...
yeah, in my mind, there's no way they win this game.
No, surely not. Oh, man, this is another tough one. I mean, I could really extend my lead this week if I'm choosing all these right.
You could. Or I could make up all my ground.
Right now, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different ones. Oh, I'm going with whatever you pick on this one.
I'm gonna pick the Seahawks because Pete Carroll's too good of a coach to have 2 games in a row, like what they had last week. So I think they got humbled a little bit, and they're gonna be better.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of leaning towards Seattle just because I think Jared Goff is just blech. But who knows? He could pull out just a wild game. Just throw the ball to Robert Woods, please.
Yeah. Next, we've got Bengals at the Steelers. Even if Big Ben doesn't play, I'm picking the Steelers. I mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, I'm picking the Steelers.
And then we've got the Ravens versus Cam Newton, your favorite quarterback.
Honestly, if they're starting Jared Stidham, I might pick the Patriots, but...
I can't pick the Patriots. But, I mean...
It is nice to see the Patriots just losing games, though.
It is. And next we've got this could be a pretty interesting Monday night game. The Vikings at the Bears.
Nobody's stopping Dalvin Cook. So, Dalvin Cook has like almost 1,000 rush yards. Derrick Henry has almost 1,000 rush yards, except Dalvin Cook has played one less game.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I mean, if there's a defense that can probably stop them, it's probably the Bears.
look, I think Khalil Mack is fed up with this garbage on offense. Like, I feel like at some point he's just gonna not care anymore.
Oh well, I'm picking the
Like last
Vikings.
season.
Don't worry, I'm picking the Vikings too.
Well, I figured.
You know, even if the Bears can stop Dalvin Cook, uh, they're not going to be able to put up any points. So, well, that covers all of our picks. Did you have anything on the NFL left you wanted to cover?
Yeah, you know what, Mark? I'm gonna pick the Rams. I'm gonna be bold here.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going for the extension of the lead.
All right. Maybe we'll just end up tying on this.
It's because of this game.
Yeah. Look, if one of us doesn't gain like at least 3 games from this,
Wait, because that's 6 different. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 5 different. But yeah, well, I mean, I think a couple like 2 or 3 weeks ago we picked 6 different, and we went 3 and 3. So with nothing happened.
yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, that's all I got for that. So
let's switch gears. We've got some MLB news back again, because the MLB has been announcing all of their end of the season award winners. The only one we have yet to have heard at the time of recording was the MVP. So, we can go into our predictions about the MVP, after this. But for the Cy Young, you had Trevor Bauer and Shane Bieber end up winning it. For Rookie of the Year, you had Devin Williams and Kyle Lewis. And then for Manager of the Year, you had Don Mattingly from the Marlins and Kevin Cash from the Rays. Now, just looking at those, is there anything you would change there or you have any issues with?
I feel like it was pretty clear cut this year. I mean,
The only one of contention that I was thinking, and it's just because I heard so much hype, was Devin Williams. And everybody's logic was because he's a relief pitcher, he shouldn't win Rookie of the Year. Now, personally, I disagree. I kind of get where people are coming from because the other options in the NL were Jake Cronenworth from the Padres and Alec Baum from the Phillies, who both had nice seasons. I just think some people didn't like that a player who doesn't play every day didn't end up winning it. But Devin Williams was absolutely lights out. I mean, his changeup's one of the nastiest pitches I've ever seen in my lifetime, and I mean, he had a sub-1 ERA. So
yeah. See, that's funny that people are like, "Oh, he didn't play every day. He's a relief pitcher," and then like the number one excuse of why a fan's team didn't win the World Series or make the playoffs is, "Oh, we had a bad bullpen."
yeah.
It's like, well, what?
Well, I saw articles that said he shouldn't have won it because he wasn't a closer. But
it's like, oh wait, yeah, you're gonna take it away from Josh Hader?
Josh Hader, who's won the last 2 Reliever of the Year awards, you're not gonna take that away from him. So,
I think people forget how good the Brewers bullpen had been the last 2 to 3 years with you had Jeffress and you had Corey Knebel, and obviously those 2 guys have kind of, Jeffress is not even with you guys, and
but Jeffress ended up almost winning Reliever of the Year this year as well.
yeah. So I
Knebel had Tommy John, so
I think it's been. I think. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Once again, it's just the the sports media just can't make up its mind on what it wants to be more important at certain times. So
Yeah, in my mind, a good relief pitcher is good because you need the relief pitchers to be able to hold a lead. I mean,
right.
and I get it. It was a close race. I mean, I wouldn't have been upset if Williams didn't win it, but in my mind, there's no justification to say that he didn't deserve it just because he's a relief pitcher. That's more. That's a lot of the stuff I've been seeing is because he's a relief pitcher, he shouldn't be eligible to win it. So
Yeah. The. I mean, who else did we have? Who were the other nominations for Cy Young?
I don't remember. Yu Darvish was second in the NL.
He was pretty good, but yeah.
I mean, in my mind, the Cy Young was pretty clear cut between Bauer and Bieber. I mean, they both put up phenomenal seasons.
Yeah. The only, I don't know. What do you think about? Obviously, Kevin Cash as manager of the year makes total sense. The NL, yeah. I mean, it's hard not to give it to Don Mattingly, considering nobody thought the Marlins would be anything. But
I think it makes sense in the NL, because you're not always looking at where the team finishes. A lot of people are like, my team won the World Series. Why didn't I win Manager of the Year? It's about improvement. You know, Marlins didn't have big expectations coming in. Granted, it was an injury-shortened season, it was a shortened season. But the fact that they with their massive amount of their big outbreak early in the season,
yeah,
all the different players that played for them, a lot of these guys, I had no idea who they were. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me why he won it.
yeah. Well, Dave Roberts should win it just for not making an absolutely stupid decision during the playoffs this year.
Uh, well, I'd be interested to hear what your MVP predictions are.
Dude, I have no idea. I mean, I'm not really sure. You know,
I can give you the top three from
yeah.
what I've been.
I think you probably know a little bit more about it than I do, so I'll let you throw out some names first.
So in the National League, you know, three players that are being mentioned quite a bit. Freddie Freeman. So
Yeah.
Freeman batted. He had a 341, 462, 640 split. 13 home runs, 51 runs, 53 RBIs. Really good season for him. You also have Mookie Betts,
Yeah, I figured
292,
he'd be on there.
292, 366, 565 slash line, 16 home runs, 47 runs, 39 RBIs. And Manny Machado, who I wasn't even thinking about until I started looking, but he did have a nice season. 304, 370, 580 slash with 60 home runs, 44 runs, 47 RBIs.
Hmm.
On the American League, you've got Jose Abreu, who just absolutely dominated this season.
He did. He played quite well.
Yeah, I mean, 317, 370, 617 slash, 19 home runs, 43 runs, 60 RBIs. DJ LeMahieu for the Yankees, he had a 364, 421, 590 with 10 home runs, 41 runs, 10 home runs, 41 runs, 27 RBIs. And then you have Jose Ramirez from the Indians with the 292, 386, 607, 17 home runs, 45 runs, 46 RBIs.
What about Luke Voigt?
That's an interesting thought as well.
I would say Luke Voigt has more of an edge over DJ LeMahieu just because LeMahieu was hurt for half the season, but obviously, I mean, especially if you're hurt for half the season, and that makes to where 30 you have that line on 30 games. But the other what's really a shame is Charlie Blackman falling off and the NL there in like the last 3 weeks. Because at one point, like literally about 25 games through the season, he was batting 500, like, which was just absolutely insane. Like he had a higher batting average than like the entire Cardinals team, like, and a couple other teams. So, I don't know. And now I would say personally, I would go Freddie Freeman. And in the AL, I would say Abreu or Luke Voigt, even though I don't think Luke Voigt would sustain over a full season. But, I mean, you are what you are for this season.
Well, I think Abreu has to get it in the AL. I mean, he just dominated. I know Voigt had a great season too, but Abreu, I mean, I think Abreu gets it. In the NL, I think Freddie Freeman probably deserves to win it, but I could definitely see it going to Mookie Betts as well.
Yeah, just for making it to the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, but Freeman has a better slash line, so I think yeah, I mean Freeman's batting average is also almost 50 points higher. So,
Yeah.
I think Freeman, I think it's a little bit more closely contested in the NL, but I think Freeman pulls it out.
Yeah. I would think the only thing that would cloud their judgment would be Betts won the World Series. But I think if you just, I mean, assuming it's supposed to go on regular season, I would think it would have to go to Freddie Freeman. But
Yeah, it is supposed to be regular season, so.
But you know these voters.
That's right. Well, I mean that's our brief little dip into the baseball world.
Yep.
Let's move on to the NCAA. Just two quick storylines and then our Rutgers fact for you. We had a wild game between Notre Dame and Clemson, where Notre Dame was just able to edge out a win against Clemson. Notre Dame's first notable win in a while. So,
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it looks like this is going to cause Notre Dame to be in the playoff, in which they will probably get destroyed again. And also notable, Trevor Lawrence did not play in this game due to coronavirus, right?
yep.
But wasn't he on the sidelines with the mask on? I could have swore I
I
saw him.
I have no idea. I didn't.
I could have swore I saw him on the sidelines with the mask on, and I was like, doesn't he have, like, isn't he supposed to be quarantining because of coronavirus? So maybe the NCAA just doesn't care whatsoever. Well, so. But I don't think Notre Dame would have won that game if Trevor Lawrence was playing. It wouldn't have even gone to overtime.
I agree. I mean, the fact that Clemson, in my mind, put up as many points as they did without Trevor Lawrence is probably a promising sign for him. And then the other big storyline that just broke about a day ago, Ohio State versus Maryland. We've seen a couple cancellations already this season, but this is the latest. Ohio State versus Maryland canceled because Maryland's has rising case counts, which, is just even more unfortunate for the Big Ten, which has already had to have several games canceled because of Wisconsin. Now you add Ohio State versus Maryland. I mean, you got to think Wisconsin missed 2 games. You got to think Maryland probably misses the same if their numbers keep going up. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it would have mattered because Ohio State would win this game easily. But yeah, I shout out to the Big 12 for being like the only conference to not have a major breakout so far.
There you go. It's
That's about the only thing that we're winning at.
Well, You know what the Big 12 doesn't have that they wish they had, though?
Nebraska.
Rutgers.
Ah, the other bad team in the Big Ten.
Bad team. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, I'd love to have the Rutgers in the Big 12.
I bet you do. I bet you do. But why don't you talk about our Rutgers fact for the week?
Okay, so let me set the stage. Let me take you back to 1999. And let me take you into the Rutgers practice facility, their basketball practice facility to be exact. And, it started off as a standard day of practice, running some suicides, shooting some baskets, running some layups, doing all that normal stuff. And then, I guess back then, the coach for the Rutgers basketball team was a guy named Kevin Bannon. So good old Coach Bannon, I guess the old Rutgers players weren't doing it, weren't making their layups. They weren't shooting their left-handed layups with their left hand, and so he just got really angry. And maybe it's out of anger, maybe it was out of pure fun, but he brought the idea of having a strip practice where the guys, I guess there's these three bench warmers. He was trying to improve them. He wanted them to get off the bench and into the game. So for every free throw they missed, they had to remove an article of clothing. And I guess they were on the bench for a reason because, or they just had to shoot an absurd amount of free throws because they ended up going fully nude. These three guys. And, that caused them to get fired. And I think the three students sued Rutgers for, I don't know, like humiliation, which obviously,
Makes sense.
makes sense. The only thing that seemed a little bit weird about that in the article that I read was they waited 2 years. So these guys, they transferred like pretty quickly, and then they ended up being like starters at other schools, and then they sued for that like 2 years after it happened. So I don't know why they waited so long. If they were humiliated, why they wouldn't just sue within like 6 months. But yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's funny to me. Obviously, it is a bit disturbing. Hopefully, no other coaches, do that. Maybe he was trying to pull a Bobby Knight and just got a little bit too wacky.
Yeah, I mean, it's taking shirts versus skins a little bit too far in practice.
What would this be called? Nudes versus...
I don't know. You could.
What's
still
another end thing?
You could still call them shirts versus skins. I think.
Yeah, I guess you could.
It's just a different it's a different definition of skins, but
yeah, it takes it to the max.
I mean, I remember when I was a bench warmer in high school. If we missed free throws, we'd just run suicides or, have to do push-ups or something like that. So, I guess.
I mean, to be honest, would you rather run like every missed free throw? Let's say you shoot like, obviously you only have, what if you're wearing shoe, sock, shorts, underwear, a shirt, let's throw in a headband and like a wristband, as clothing. So, that's like about 10 articles of clothing. If you shoot 100 free throws, would you rather end up being... I would say my average, just from going to the gym and shooting 100, I can make about 85 consistently. But I don't know. Would you rather run like 15 suicides or just end up being completely naked? I mean, you're probably going to get naked in the showers afterwards, anyways.
Here's the deal. So in high school, we had a free throw-a-thon that we did to raise money. I think it was to get new uniforms. And so every player had to shoot 100 free throws, and you'd collect money based off of like how many free throws you made. Well, I wasn't exactly a great free throw shooter. My game was more on the defensive side of things. And, I think my sheet had about 40 on it. And I think I fudged that a little bit. So um, I would not have lasted very long. You would have had a much better shot. Your free throw is much better, but um,
What would if it was a suicide per missed free throw
in
or
that
a lap
case,
per missed free throw, would you
in
rather?
that oh no, in that case, look, if we're shooting 100 free throws, if that's the case, I'm running at least 60 suicides. So no, I'll go skins, but I mean,
Yeah, I here's my thing. It's like I would rather do like literally anything besides run a suicide. So if I missed one, it would be like, I might as well just not even bother.
yeah.
But I don't know. Rutgers. I'm sure this stuff like this has happened to other universities, but that just happened to be something just so out there that it just felt like a good fact to settle on for this week.
Yeah. Well, that's our Rutgers fact of the week. Now time to get into the sports we don't care about. Jonas, you want to take it away?
Yes, this is the part in the episode where we get to tennis. um, so Rafa Nadal, over I think like this past Sunday or Saturday, or maybe it was a week ago or so. Honestly, I forget at this point. But recently he won his 1,000th ATP tournament. And I mean that's a lot of wins. I mean he's played quite a bit, I think for what like about 15 years now. And I mean that's like 70-ish wins a year, which is just I don't maybe I got that wrong. Maybe it wasn't his 1,000th. That just seems absurd if you had 70 wins a year.
I'm not the golf guy.
I don't know. I could have swore I saw that. Let me check that real quick. I'll keep mumbling on here. But Medvedev, Daniil Medvedev, he's from Russia. He won in Paris, somewhere that you would think Nadal would be successful in, but no. Medvedev wins an ATP Tour final in Paris, and okay. It's Nadal reached 1,000 ATP singles wins, not tournament wins. So that's still impressive. That's actually I'm looking. That's the fourth most out of anybody in anybody's career. So that's still impressive, obviously. Yeah, thinking about that, 1,000 tournament wins would be just absurd. But yeah, and then the Masters start tomorrow. I don't know. Tiger Woods won last year, kind of resurrecting his career, at least at the time. It looks like it's gone back downhill. But I don't know. It always seems like these guys like Tiger Woods or like Phil Mickelson, people you think are like washed up, seem to somehow win the Masters every year. I don't really know how they do it. Maybe it's just because they've played it so many times. But who do you think? I mean, I know neither one of us watch a ton of golf, but just from the people that we know of, who would be just your random shout out winner?
Well, if Tiger Woods is playing, I'm just gonna go with Tiger Woods.
Oh boy. I'm gonna go with Jason Day if he's playing. I don't even know if he's playing. I'll pick Rory McIlroy as a backup to Jason Day if he's not playing.
As you can tell, we are huge golf fans.
I love playing golf. I just don't know about very many of the people in the sport. It's just so incredibly boring to watch, unfortunately.
You know, I think I'd have a lot more fun playing golf if I wasn't so awful at it.
Maybe if you use the correct clubs and not a putter for every shot.
Those are my best 3 holes. For, just to explain, we went golfing on a par 3 course, and it was my first time doing anything not mini golf. And I was joking with the guys we were with that I was going to use a putter the whole time. Well, I was having a bad day, and so in the last 3 holes, I decided to use only a putter. That includes driving with it and everything. And those are my best 3 holes.
Absolutely ridiculous. We just played. I just played that par 3 course the other day, and actually wasn't. I was hitting the ball pretty well. I almost the last couple times I've played, I've gotten about 4 feet from a hole in one. I keep thinking I'm going to get one eventually. So
Just, you know, you gotta wait. It's gotta be that story where you played golf like your whole life.
yeah, I'm
And
like
then,
80.
and then when you're like 80, you get your first hole in one.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But well, the other one last thing about golf, I guess, was that there's that absolutely crazy a golf shot, and I don't know if that was just from like a warm up round or if that's like I know like tennis kind of has like qualifiers. If you're in like the bottom half of the bracket, you kind of have to qualify for it. So I don't know if you have to like qualify to make it into the Masters, and that's or if that was just practice or what that was. But this guy that just skipped it across the water. Did you see that?
yeah, his last name is Rom. I forget his first name, but yeah, I mean, just like he lined up and he was like smiling before it, like he told the people that he was gonna try it, and it skipped like 3 times off the water, and then ended up getting to be a hole in one, which is just wild.
Well, yeah, because what was wild to me is that how the greens. I mean, I guess if you really study all the greens on a course, obviously I would think you would know kind of what they do to the ball. But it like rolled up like on the backside of the green and then came back down. But it didn't look like it was that big of a slope.
Yeah, it was absolutely wild.
But well, what is that? Oh yes, the MLS mark. Take it away.
Well, you know, unfortunately, been so busy looking at some of the other news, regarding sports. Um, you know what? No, I was gonna come up with some lie. Um, Look, here's the deal. We care about the MLS about as much as Terry Bradshaw cares for Baker Mayfield.
Or Colin Cowherd. I don't know if you've heard some of Colin Cowherd's commentary.
Yeah, yeah. Terry Bradshaw came out like 2 days ago and basically just told Baker Mayfield to shut up, and he's clearly not a fan of Baker. So, but
And everybody hates Baker.
yeah. Well, this has been episode 9 of the MJ Sports Podcast. I'm Mark, and this is Jonas.
Yeah, and I don't know. Come back next week, episode 10. Maybe we'll have something extra special or something.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully. But thank you for listening.